Welcome to episode 252 of the Working Fans Podcast. We are now in June, the halfway point of the year. And before we talk about 2024 this so far, we want to talk about Game Up Hard Hydration. We've been talking about them throughout the winter time, and you could get hydrated in the winter, but this drink is perfectly made for the summer. It's low calorie, low carb. It's a new, like, I'm getting tongue tied because I don't want to say it's like your favorite sports drink and your favorite seltzer got together, had a baby, but it's better. There's a commercial that says that at the end, but it's a hard hydration drink. It is going to be awesome when you bury it in ice in a cooler and pull out one of those 4 great flavors. Dave's going to tell you all about those flavors right now.
You talking about fruit punch? You talking about lemon lime? Are you talking about orange? Or your personal favorite grape? They're all delicious.
I know a couple weeks ago, Chevy came out as being a fan of the lemon lime, but you got to find it at your nearest package store. 8-pack. It is great. They sponsor the podcast, and we wanted to shout them out at the top. But what we're also talking about at the top of the show, like we said, we are halfway through the year. So we want to take a look at 2024 so far and give some of our thoughts. Let's start with Company of the Year because I think it's easy to say right now we are riding a high with WWE. Yep. They have had multiple international PLEs. As this airs, this weekend is going to be the NXT event in Las Vegas.
Right.
They're doing great things over there, and Vince McMahon's finally out. This time last year, he was out, then he was back in. WWE's finally settling into their own identity. What do you think about this, Dave? Who's your company?
It's got to be WWE right now. Just coming off that run with WrestleMania with The Rock involved, and we had Rock and Cena involved at Mania and Undertaker. And it all led to Cody Rhodes still being the champion. So you had all these stars getting involved, but basically helping put over, the future. And that was not something that always happened, So a lot of people got hot in WWE. LA Knight, who maybe needs a jump start, but Drew McIntyre, CM Punk. It is wild. Not WWE, but Forbidden Doors coming up. And, I was thinking about it, was one of the matches last year, I want to say might have been Otami, but it was like basically Punk was in the tournament for the Owen Hart Cup tournament last year. And I'm like, that feels like years ago at this point. But you can look it up. Punk was in the Owen Hart Cup tournament last year. And now he's just part of WWE, and he's just a part of the machine. You know what I mean? It's not even like it's a CM Punk show. He's just a part of it. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're talking about WWE as a company, but you brought up Forbidden Door. And a couple weeks ago, at the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, MJF came back, and I noticed a lot more renewed excitement about AEW with the return of MJF. Plus, all the people that they had brought in up to that point have titles. You have Okada, who won the Continental Championship. You have Ospreay, who won the International Championship. Mercedes Moné won that TBS Championship. So a lot of new blood coming in, a lot of excitement, but their homegrown talent returned. AEW very close second. TNA is a company that has been doing great things, but has flown under the radar because all the talk has been about WWE and AEW. But look what they've done with Mustafa Ali. Look what they've done with a Nick Nemeth. You have Matt Hardy returning to TNA. So wrestling overall in a much better place. WWE still the top of that heap. And you want to talk the top of that heap, let's talk about best male wrestler of the year. So far, at least.
Cody Rhodes, maybe not best bell to bell, but in terms of like who's the biggest star right now, it's Cody Rhodes coming off ending that reign of Roman Reigns and now successfully defending his WWE championship a couple of times with Logan Paul and AJ Styles. Cody is the man. Will that change as time goes on? When The Rock comes back, when Roman comes back, as things change in this landscape of pro wrestling and AEW and other champions are on the other brand, like you never know. But right now, I'd say in this first half of the year, Cody Rhodes is that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he got to finish his story. That was like the biggest news bit, in this year. WWE, they've had a lot of other big stories. Look at Gunther
Yeah,
losing that Intercontinental Championship,
King
but
of the
then
Ring.
becoming King of the Ring, lining him up for bigger things. Main event Jey Uso has been another name that has been featured out there. We've seen Sami Zayn growing into his own with the Intercontinental Championship. Look what Ricochet did winning that Speed title. That's something that flew under the radar this year. That's been another big thing. Ricochet's been love a good technical difficulty in the middle of an episode that gets to get edited out. All right, so we're coming back from technical difficulty. Got a little off track with what we were saying, but there's been a lot of great male wrestlers in WWE. Obviously, Cody's going to take the cake. Let's look at who's been big in AEW. Adam Copeland has definitely held them down for better or worse. We had that promo where he tried sticking up for the company and it kind of fell flat. But otherwise, he's been giving great matches. Moxley's been great for them, winning that IWGP World Heavyweight Championship and representing it in AEW.
Swerve Strickland. I mean, the current
Obviously
champion.
the heavyweight champion. How did I forget about him?
Yeah, no doubt. No, I think he's had the momentum, and now he's got the championship, and he's got a chance to run with that ball for that company. And I think Swerve is well deserving, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do with that title.
Yeah, not to diminish what Mustafa Ali has done in TNA, but him and Nick Nemeth went to TNA, struck out on their own. They've become big stars down there, but just given the nature of the promotion, not as much, fanfare as others, but they are still doing great things. Now, we're going from the male wrestler that stuck out this year, female wrestler of the year at the halfway point.
Should
Who
have
do
been
you
Rhea
feel
Ripley.
has kind of been Rhea Ripley? You putting it
Should
on?
have been. It should have
Should've
been.
been.
The injury would probably take her out right now, so it's kind of hard to say.
She's definitely not going to finish out the year, but she had a strong first half of the
yeah,
year.
she was so dominant, so good.
100%.
I mean, you could make an argument. I don't want to knock the AEW, but Toni Storm, I guess this might be where we go AEW a little bit then because of the injury. Maybe we go with a Toni Storm right now because her character's been so strong and she's really been the main focus. If not Toni Storm, then Bayley would be right up there too with her Royal Rumble victory and then winning the title at Mania.
Well, I mean, the injury only affects Rhea going forward for the rest of the year.
True.
I would say Rhea would be that top female talent for the first half because she's been out a couple weeks now. And you've seen that WWE has tried to scramble a little bit with giving the title to Becky and then Liv getting the title back. But in the end, it's kind of going to be Rhea's to win back. But I got to agree, Bayley is kind of like the unsung title because Bayley gets overshadowed because Rhea has been so popular. Do you think Toni Storm has been better than Rhea?
Not than Rhea. No. Ripley's been so dominant. And Ripley was on course to be what Roman was in the women's division. She was just the franchise player, the star of women's wrestling right now, I thought, until this injury hit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Rhea, but now I think she's going to come back as a monster babyface. So we'll see if she's back soon enough, like maybe by SummerSlam, this could still be her year.
Yeah, I think if Toni Storm finishes the year with the momentum that she's started it with, she could definitely be that woman of the year, given that injury for Rhea. If Rhea hadn't gotten injured, it definitely would have been her. Looking at other women that have done well, Willow Nightingale was another one who really made her time with the TBS championship and putting herself in that feud with Monet. And Willow's just had great matches on TV because before that, you had the whole buildup with that Statlander feud with Stokely as well.
Mercedes is going to be someone to watch out for too as time goes on. Some young, you got Jade Cargill in WWE now. She could still rise up here. They seem to be pushing Laya Valkyria, who's having good matches and is coming up in WWE. Who knows what's going to happen? We were kind of overlooking Jordynne Grace because she's had such a phenomenal year with TNA. But if she comes in and wins the NXT Women's Champion, she could be someone we're talking about at the end of the year too. Someone I'm not really going to probably put up there, but it's kind of crazy. Nia Jax has actually had a hell of a run since coming back. Like they're working her as a proper heel and she's becoming this big tough heel to beat, but I definitely wouldn't put her at the top. But I almost feel like, man, gotta say, she's actually been somewhat entertaining, and she's been. This has got to be the biggest, best push of her career.
I'm glad you brought up Jade because I want to get to tag team of the year. I just love this pairing of Jade Cargill and Bianca so much, winning those women's tag team champions, that I feel like they came out of nowhere at the end and got that biggest tag team out there right now. Who is standing out for you for 2024 so far for tag team?
They have the potential for sure. And we haven't had a women's tag team like this too either yet. They could really stand out like this. So this could be really exciting. There's some good teams out there, but honestly, I feel like tag team of the year is one of the most open things right now. We don't have that dominant tag team anywhere. Even the Bucks and FTR and AEW, I feel like have lost steam in the sense that they've just been preoccupied with other storylines and multiple person matches. I'll go AEW on this one. I'll go the Bucks in the meantime, just as the champs, and to be a little different and say they've been the tag team of the year so far.
I was going to say the Bucks. You could argue for them with the way they did that whole thing with the CM Punk footage. We didn't like it, but it was towards more of their turn towards these EVP heavy heels that they've been. And I've liked the change. I hate them whenever they're on the screen, but I know that's kind of what they're going for. So it feels like they're winning there. Speaking of tag teams, the Crockett Cup started, I believe, last week for NWA. So another great place where a lot of teams are getting featured, but not. Once again, it's like the TNA thing where it's happening on a lower level, so not as many people are seeing it. Gallows and Nathan Frazier and Axiom.
Yeah.
In NXT, they are a tag team that I've enjoyed. I think they've been putting on great matches. It's really kind of rough that when we're trying to think of the best tag teams out there, we're trying to rack our brains for it because we're both tag team fans. We enjoy tag team wrestling, but where the state of tag team wrestling is now, and we said it last year, we might have even said it the year before, that there's been a little less of a focus on tag teams, and you almost have to really think like what tag team has really stood out.
Yeah, I mean, there was a period where AEW had all these great teams with the Bucks and FTR were fresh and the Lucha Bros, and they still do. It just seems like there's just not as much focus on them. And over in WWE, the Usos kind of ran the show for a long time with the Bloodline. And now that they've split up, it's just we haven't seen another team really kind of take over yet.
Solo and Tonga is another tag team that, well, I don't know. They've kind of moved more into faction mode. It seems like wrestling is almost moving away from set tag teams to having guys that were tag teams get into factions. With the Bloodline, it's a little different because they're family. But look at what the Young Bucks are doing. Look at WWE was doing it with the Good Brothers in the OC for a while, but then that kind of moved away and AJ went on his own. So once again, another year where the standout in tag team wrestling are kind of like muddled in there. Let's go from tag teams to rookie/newcomer of the year. Who in wrestling that's popped out of nowhere or kind of started debuting has really impressed you? I'm going to start with Riley Osborne and Chase U. Athletic guy. He wrestled this week. Every time I've seen him in the ring, really stuck out. He might have been at it for the last couple of years, but he's been good. There's that other new guy, the guy in NXT that likes to get bouncy. I can't remember his name.
Javon Evans.
Yes, very athletic, has a good attitude about him. I feel like he could fit almost that place where Carmelo Hayes was.
I think NXT got that place next place because Obafemi is the guy that popped in my mind there. The power, and he's just got star potential written all over him. He's got a Goldberg-like aura about him right now.
Yeah, and if you want to talk newcomers to the main roster, obviously Ilya Dragunov and Lyra Valkyria, Braun Breaker have been the real kind of standouts breaking out there. In AEW, it seems like it's less breakouts and more WWE like imports. I'm trying to think. They haven't really had many homegrown new stars lately.
No, nothing comes to mind. The last guy, I'm sure we'll hear about this, but I mean, the last guy that really comes to mind was Garcia.
Yeah, and it's
That's
one of the
wild.
things with the booking. He's kind of been lost in the shuffle there a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, PLE pay-per-view of the year so far. What event has stood out for you?
It's WrestleMania this year. You could argue night 1 or night 2. I think I'll just go night 2 for finishing the story, but WrestleMania was just what it was supposed to be every year this year. And a lot of that had to do with The Rock, but we just had so many moments with Drew McIntyre getting his moment and only to lose his moment with the cash in, with Punk interfering and Damian cashing in, and Ripley and Becky, and just Jade making her debut, The Rock, and Roman successful on night 1, and then all the great cameos in night 2, like I said recently with Undertaker and Cena and Seth with his Shield outfit. It really was a great happening.
100%. And we're gonna, next time we talk to you about all these same subjects, it will be at the end of the year in December. And we are moving on from 2024 so far to a segment that's really grown in 2024. It's been a standout on our social media, transform numbers. And Dave had an interesting comparison that I thought kind of fit since they were both on the recent pay-per-view. Christian Cage, Adam Copeland. When you put this up, do you remember if it was Better Career?
I was actually wondering that. I was hoping you had that information.
We're going to say Better Career because when I looked at the two of them, different kind of careers. Adam Copeland, I would argue, they both came up at the same time, rose to prominence as a tag team. Adam Copeland became that star sooner and was a big star. Christian Cage has had this slow burn where he kind of went from, I'm not going to call him the Jannetty of the team, but he went from the other member of the team to, over time, you could say he's as good as Copeland now.
I'm gonna take on both of these real quick because I think it might have been better in the ring, but I'm gonna go both for a simple reason too. They're both different answers. Adam Copeland and Christian have had different types of success, but ultimately Copeland has headlined WrestleMania with The Undertaker, and he's had more world titles, being WWE. Yes, Christian did have the TNA and NWA World Champion. Yes, he's, I think, had a better run in AEW so far. But at the end of the day, I don't think you can match what Edge did in terms of his single success. He had such much more of an impactful run as a main eventer, and you would have argued that, Christian was that Jannetty. Now, in the ring, to me, it's Christian Cage, because even though Edge is talented, Christian Cage is a very, very, very solid worker. Kind of cut out of that almost Randy Orton thing where he does things so simple and he makes these hard things look so easy. And really, really one of the best workers out there.
Yeah, I think people focus more on Adam Copeland Edge because of, obviously, the more out there personality. He's more, I guess, easily digestible by the public. For Christian, it's almost kind of like a dry humor with him. It's like you got to get used to Christian before you really become a fan of his. And I really didn't even settle in as a fan until this AEW run. I think if the WWE had featured Christian a little more, maybe in a higher spot, then it would have evened out a bit more and we would have thought of Christian in a different way. But when you put anybody against Adam Copeland, it's going to be hard for them to compare.
Yeah, tremendous success by Copeland in his career, for sure.
Dave, this new segment that I've brought up to close out the show. It went a little long last week. We saw Dave looking at his phone. We all mentally checked out, but we are going to do a couple letters out of, let me pull this back up because this is the January 1995 issue of the Wrestler, and it is our holiday wish list for 95. Like we said, things get released a little earlier. You see Alundra Blaze on the cover, Sabu, Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, and why Bob Backlund snapped. But we are getting into these for the mailbag, and I'm just going to do a couple quick letters this time. And we are starting off with Lawler Laughter. I would like to thank the wrestler for He's So Ugly, the Jerry Lawler Book of Insults, November 1994. I'm not a big fan of Jerry Lawler, the wrestler, but I can't get enough of his color commentary. Anybody who can make Vince McMahon's mindless screeching tolerable deserves to be called the king. Lawler is easily the top color man in the sport. Jesse Ventura has become redundant. Bobby Heenan is a shell of his former self. My favorite Lawler lines were omitted from the story include, he's so old at the Last Supper he embarrassed everybody by asking for seconds. I'm not even going to get into the other ones they list, but it ends out with, today all the stand-up comedians seem to be more than 2-bit Jerry Seinfeld wannabes, and none of the new sitcoms are any good. But it's good to know that for 1 hour each week, we can enjoy some truly royal humor. Long live the king. My one question, of course, is how can I get my hands on a copy of Lawler's book? Harry Simon. Guess where Harry Simon is from?
Memphis.
Las Vegas, Nevada. And I was surprised because they were putting over Lawler so big as being this comedic genius and saying a lot of the day's comedians are 2-bit. But we've never talked about this, but Lawler was good at what he did on commentary. He could be funny. I wouldn't say he was the funniest. I would almost say he was a 2-bit comedian on commentary because it was Jim Cornette is quick. He's witty, but there are different times when Jim Cornette is almost a joke book comedian like Jerry Lawler clearly is on commentary.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's saying Jerry was the best at that time. That is arguable.
Moving ahead of Jesse Ventura and Bobby Heenan.
Yeah, but no, Bobby would definitely be my favorite. Maybe Cornette, then Ventura. Lawler's towards the bottom. I mean, I don't even know. I kind of liked even, he was not necessarily known for his commentary as much, but Paul Dangerously and even Michael Hayes. Like, there's a lot of people I actually like better than Jerry. So I don't know.
Yeah, it was funny because I share that same opinion as you, but this person just can't get over how funny Jerry Lawler is. And in his time, Jerry Lawler was humorous, but
he's got some good skating.
I don't think at any time I would have thought Jerry Lawler was moving ahead of what Jesse Ventura ever did or what Bobby Heenan ever did. Even when Bobby Heenan and Jesse Ventura weren't what they once were, I would never have put Lawler ahead of them. Lawler's just not my type of commentator either.
Yeah.
Kind of heavy on that sports entertainment.
There's some good promos out there with Lawler that I've seen. But, yeah, in terms of commentary, wasn't up at the top of my list either. His best work to me was playing off of Jim Ross, and that was them as a team together.
Yeah, and that's almost kind of like where the two met because Jerry Lawler's over-the-topness kind of got evened out by what Jim Ross was doing. So I just thought that was an interesting letter out of that. And that's why we're going back into some of these old magazines and seeing some of the opinions of the times. Obviously, this week we kept it a little shorter to move things along better. But when you're at a party and you want to move things along even better than they were going before, since it's summertime, there is only one drink for the summer and for your summer parties, and that's Game Up Hard Hydration.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store.
And it's during the summer. You're looking for a book to read. Is there a better wrestling book out there this summer than Wrestle Black Bart?
All you got young wrestling fans out there, listen, old Black Bart has got a book. It's called Wrestle Black Bart. It's got some that good stories in there about some that good wrestlers.
Read stories of Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erich, Scott Casey, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Mr. Fuji, Ron Bass, Bruiser Brody, Mike Davis, the Grappler, and many others.
And I guarantee you one thing. that it'll be the best dadgum read you've had in a long, long time.
Get your book today at Russellville.com or on Amazon. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.